The track hits your eardrum like a slug to your chest. Like a vest for your Jimmy in the city of sex. We in that sunshine state where the bomb ass him be. The state where you never find a dance floor empty and pimp speed. On a mission for them greens. Lean, mean, money making machines serving fiends.
FightSaga.com presents War Week Radio chats with boxing scribe Joseph Herron and former prizefighter Young Billionaire.
Happy New Year, everybody. It's so good to visit with you. The final podcast of the 2021 calendar year. And I get to share with all of my closest friends, including our recent addition to War Week Radio, the always insightful, the always affable, Mr. Young Billionaire. Young Bill, how goes it, sir? Happy New Year's.
Happy New Year, Joe. Happy New Year to the audience. I'm excited. I'm excited for this this last edition and last show of the War Week Radio of 2021.
You know what, brother? I'm so excited because, one, this is your show. This is the very first time we're featuring the Young Bill show. And for our first show, it's a big one. Guys, we're hopefully starting off a tradition that will follow it up many, many years from now. We're starting the very first annual Young Billionaire Boxing Awards show, the best and worst of 2021. How do you like that?
Awesome. I'm excited.
Well, honestly, I can't wait to hear what you think and what your verdict is. And now keep in mind, guys, I have no idea how Young Bill is actually going to make his selection, right? So he's going to select them live on the air. I haven't heard anything. I have no idea how he's going to select it, all right? I want to give a shout out to my brother, Antonio Luna from Long Beach, California. Don't you know Canelo fears Antonio Luna? And there it is. Also want to give a shout out to my brother Rodney Evans. Good morning to you too, sir. Thank you so much for joining us, being part of our final podcast of 2021. Happy New Year's to you, my friend. And my brother from the East Coast, New York, Big Luke. Thank you for joining us. Happy War Week, New Year. You know what? I'll drink to that, brother. Just not this early in the day. But I tell you what, before we get started, once again, I'm going to rattle off the categories, right? And also, guys, at the tail end of the show, we're going to give everyone an update on, well, the latest development from the WBC and pretty much everything that we discussed on Tuesday night show came to fruition. Guys, that's how well we know the business, okay? It came to fruition. WBC just ruled on an 80-20 split in favor of Tyson Fury to what we told you guys they were going to do, right? So if you need to get caught up after this show, go back and listen to Tuesdays because it's very relevant in what the WBC just ruled yesterday in the Tyson Fury Dillian White purse split, right? So here are the categories, Young Bill. Number one, we're going to be going, and we got 10 full categories, guys. I guarantee you that this is going to be the most comprehensive year-end list of any boxing podcast or website. Guaranteed. Okay? So here you go. Number one is Prospect of the Year. Number two is going to be Comeback Fighter of the Year. Number three, Breakout Performance of 2021. Number four, Worst Decision of the Year. I cannot wait to hear what your selection is on that, my friend. Number five is Trainer of the Year. 6, KO of the Year. 7, Upset of the Year. 8, Round of the Year. 9, Fight of the Year. And number 10, the big one, Fighter of the Year. So, guys, they get more, well, valuable, or I should say invaluable as we go on, right? So we're going to start off with the very light Prospect of the Year. Now, here's where we determine what the candidates were, right? Now, I noticed that a lot of sites and a lot of podcasts we're including guys who are already in the 10 and 12 round stages. Young Bill, that's not really a prospect now, is it, though?
No. If you're fighting 10 to 12 round fights and you're in those type of fights, you're more on contender stage, not prospect.
And there it is. So the candidates, guys, for Prospect of the Year, War Week Radio, first annual Young Billionaire Awards, is Xander Zayas, Marc Castro, Keyshawn Davis, Big Baby Jared Anderson, and Amari Jones. Young Bill, take it away, sir.
And a hard choice, but it wasn't so hard to me. I picked Xander Zayas as my prospect of the year. The guy is 19 years old. He had six scintillating wins in 2021. And a side note is that he beat James Martin, who upset Vito Melnecki. So, you know, one of the biggest upsets of the year, James Martin upset Vito Melnecki, and Xander Zayas handled him with relative ease. And for my runner-up on prospect of the year, Big Baby Anderson, who had an awesome 2021 and awesome performances, all knockouts in 2021 as well. I just feel like with Xander Zayas was fought 6 times this year, and he showed me a lot of tools in the bag. The guy could do it all. He can box on the back foot. He has a great jab. He can fight on the inside. He's working on his inside game. He gets better every fight. Sky's the limit for young Xander Zayas.
Wow, yeah, Xander Zayas, originally from Puerto Rico, born in San Juan, only 19 years of age. He's 12-0 with 9 big wins coming by way of knockout, right? Yep. This is a guy who's still in the 6th-round stage, but you're absolutely right. What's not to like about Xander Zayas? This guy seemingly is mature beyond his years, right? How do you like the way Brad Goodman and Bruce Trampler, do you like the pace that it seems that they're respecting the process and they're taking the time with this kid. Do you actually favor that approach?
Oh, yes. I mean, with Xander being only 19 years old and him turning pro at such a young age, I believe that Brad Goodman, him and Bruce Trampler being some of the best matchmakers in boxing and knowing how to cultivate a star. I like how they're giving him different touches and different styles every fight. One fight they may give him a pressure fighter. One fight they may give him a guy that can counterpunch. So the fact that they're matching him and they're keeping him busy as well, because he's a big kid, and the more they keep him busy, the more he stays on weight. He's fighting at 154. This kid can. I mean, this kid and the skill level of this kid, I could see him if his chin is up to what we think he could be. This guy can be a division champion in the sport, a multi-division champion, 154, 160. That's how good this kid can be.
Wow. I'm sorry, brother. You're breaking up a little bit, but we'll see if we can get that technical difficulty just straightened out. Now, I'm going to put something on the board. We got a question already from our brother Rodney Evans. He asked you this, Young Bill. Not going to lie, I don't know who Amari Jones is. Who is that? Would you like to answer that?
Amari Jones is a great prospect that you need to check out.
Look, I'll give him the skinny on this Young Bill. It's he currently campaigning at 154 pounds. Currently, he's a young prospect signed to Devin Haney's promotional company. So he's also working. He's only 19 years old, 5-0 with 5 knockouts, and he's 6 foot.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So, but he didn't have quite the year that Xander Zayas had, did he?
No. He didn't fight. I mean, he fought a one fighter with a winning record in Timothy Lee, but the guy has a lot of talent as well. We could see the power is real. He's from Oakland just like Devin. So yeah, this guy is a guy to look out for. Make sure you go pay attention to Amari Jones.
And there it is, guys. Once again, you can't go wrong with any of the prospects who are candidates for this year's. But As Young Billionaire just explained, Xander Zayas was a genuine standout this year for Top Rank, as well as ESPN. And the sport of boxing, want to give a shout out to our brother HLD. Thank you for joining us, my friend. Happy New Year to you, brother. Tell you what, I might have to join you guys tonight because, well, want to give a shout out to my honey right now. She's sick with COVID. So it looks like I'm not going to be able to toast champagne and smooch her at midnight. So it looks like I'm going to be joining all of you tonight later on with some sweet amber, possibly on H Money, possibly a show on this channel. I'll do this. Let's go to category number 2. Are you ready, Young Bill?
Yes, sir.
Very good. Number 2 is going to be, and guys, follow along with me if you guys would like to on YouTube, and go to the description box. I have all of the candidates as well as the categories that Young Bill is working off of, right? So number 2 is the comeback fighter of the year. Now, once again, the comeback fighter is someone who was basically written off in the past by critics and fans alike. They came back in a resounding manner to prove to everyone within the business that they're not finished yet, right? So your candidates for comeback fighter of 2021 is Jamel Herring. And once again, we're referring to his standout victory over Carl Frampton earlier this year. Nonito Donaire, who is 2-0, basically knocking out both opponents. Boy, he's really made a resurgence in 2021, hasn't he?
Yes,
Gabe
sir.
Rosado, for reminding everyone that he still had some juice in those legs. Timing Beck the Bully with a perfect overhand right as he was coming in and getting the big upset victory in 2021. Vasyl Lomachenko, reminding everyone in 2021 that the takeover hadn't got the better of him, that he was still a force at 135 pounds. And finally, Kiko Martinez. Wow, at 35 years of age, guy was written off, supposedly a shot fighter. People were questioning why he was facing Kid Galahad, and he pulls off the upset, knocks out his man in the 6th round, right?
Yes, sir.
So which one is it going to be, Young Bill?
I have Nonito Donaire as comeback fighter of the year primarily because he was on a year and he hadn't fought for a year and a half before he came back and beat 2 undefeated fighters in 2021 both by knockout at 39 years of age, and he's fighting at his original weight at bantamweight. This guy, I mean, you know how insane it is to still be making weight and fighting at your original weight class at 39 years old, and having his wife primarily work his corner. I mean, the guy, Nonito Donaire, is returned as a student of the game. It's amazing to see his resurgence. And also, he didn't fight any light touch. He had 2 knockouts over 2 undefeated fighters. So,
that's right.
To me, he was written off, and he took a year off from the sport and came back with 2 dominating victories. And he's a champ. I mean, he's a champion. Nonito Donaire is a force to stay. And the runner-up for me was Kiko Martinez. You're talking about a guy who had 10 losses. Joe, he had 10 losses. 10 losses, and he won a championship against Kid Galahad, who people that watch the sport know is a really good fighter. Yep. He was an extreme underdog in that fight and went to his backyard and beat him. He didn't fight. He fought him in Sheffield. So to not have Kiko Martinez and Nonito Donaire as your comeback fighter, as your top comeback fighters of the year is to me asinine, because I know people are saying Lomachenko, and Lomachenko, we know his greatness.
Yep.
We knew that if Lomachenko was healthy, he would be a problem for anybody. You know, people knew that after shoulder surgery, that he would come back, and most people did. I mean, he was a pound for pound guy, so he wasn't written off as nearly to the extent of a Nonito Donaire or an underdog like Kiko Martinez. So that's why those 2 guys were heavy consideration for comeback fighter of the year, but I had to go with Nonito Donaire.
You know, a very sound choice. Once again, Crad, congratulations to one of the best guys in this business, 39-year-old Filipino-born. Nonito Donaire. I tell you what, you're absolutely right. Phenomenal year. Stopping. And once again, these were both demolitions. Stopping undefeated Nordine Ubali from France. And then stopping Raymark Gabayo of the Philippines. Yeah. He had a very special year. Yep.
With the body shot, Joe. Woo.
Oof. Yep. I tell you what, it's going to be interesting to see if we get in 2022, once again, Naoya Inoue versus Nonito Donaire. That's the fight we all want at 118 pounds. And once again, guys, this guy is approaching 40, and he's still able to make bantamweight 118. That's a special individual indeed. So congratulations to Nonito Donaire. Now can we slip in number 2.5 category? The very dubious failed comeback of the year. Okay? Very quickly, choose between these three, Young Bill. Oh, boy. The very ill-advised comeback of Evander Holyfield in his one-round demolition on Triller. Boy, that was embarrassing. That was like staring at the sun, Young Bill. It was hard to watch.
Wow.
And then number 2, Adrien Broner. Came back in February of this year, or did you guys forget? And then on May 1st, Omar Figueroa attempted to come back and got bludgeoned by Abel Ramos. And boy, I tell you what, he looked ridiculous. Do you remember all that posturing and jiving he was doing? Like, what the hell was he doing? Do you remember that? That was on the undercard of Big Andy Ruiz versus Chris Arreola.
Yes, sir.
Oh, boy. So who do you like in this, or who do you not like in this, Young Bill? More accurately, I should say.
Adrien Broner. About billions. Always broke. I have to go with AB. You know.
Oh, jeez.
He fought a guy that he shouldn't have been in the ring with.
Giovanni Santiago. Yep.
Yes, sir. From Puerto Rico. And I felt like he lost that fight. Abel Ramos, the reason why Evander Holyfield was late 50s. He shouldn't have came back, but Adrien Broner, he was supposed to win this fight handily, didn't do it. Omar Figueroa fought a pretty good fighter in Abel Ramos, who took Yordenis Ugas to a split decision. In that WBA regular for the WBA regular title, Ugas won. So for me, I wasn't so shocked by Abel Ramos beating Omar Figueroa.
Yeah,
as I was Santiago putting up such a good fight against AB, or AB putting up such a bad performance. So I have to go with about billion. You know,
the can man, Adrien Broner, and there it is, the dubious failed comeback award of 2021. Got to give a shout out to my sister. Happy New Year, all the way from Connecticut. Miss Denise Wards, thank you so much for joining us. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to you, sister. Love you. Hope you're doing well. Hope you and your family are doing very well, and hope you guys have a wonderful time this evening. Mr. Rodney Evans, he says, well explained, Young Bill. Yes, well explained indeed. Doing a great job, brother. Hold on. What about Jarrett Hurd losing to Luis Arias? Well, we'll get into that in maybe future categories, brother. So just stay tuned, my friend. Let's move on. We're going to number 3, which is Breakout Performance of the Year. Now, guys, once again, this is prospects and veterans alike. These are just standout performances, right? Like if guys were maybe on the fringe or weren't household names, or if fans weren't aware that these were pound for pound special fighters, well, I guarantee you after these performances that I'm going to list, there's no question about it any further. These guys are elite, right? So number 1, Josh Taylor, UD12 over Jose Ramirez for the undisputed 140-pound championship. Mauricio Lara, KO 9 over Josh Warrington. Wow. Yeah, and that was a bludgeoning too. Shakur Stevenson, TKO 10 over Jamel Herring. That was truly a special performance in September. Oscar Valdez, KO 10 over Miguel Burchelt. Wow, I have a feeling we're going to hear that again later on in the show. Virgil Ortiz Jr., TKO 8 over Igas Cavallasquez. Faced his toughest test to date and passed it with flying colors. Brian Castano from Argentina, split draw with Jamel Charlo. And guys, if you didn't realize that Brian Castano was a legit badass at 154, you did after watching this fight. Brandon Figueroa knocking out Luis Neri in KO 7, right? Yordeñas Ugas, UD12 over Manny Pacquiao. Terrence Crawford, TKO 10 over Sean Porter. And Ryan Garcia, KO 7 over Luke Campbell. That's a lot of candidates and a lot to choose from. And you could only choose one. Young Bill, what's the verdict? Who wins your breakout performance of 2021?
Shakur Stevenson. And it was very difficult to pick it. But leading up to that fight with Jamel Herring, I had went on numerous sites and numerous betting sites, and I did a lot of research about people picking Shakur by decision or Jamel Herring for upset. A lot of boxing writers and people were saying that don't be surprised if Jamel Herring upsets Shakur Stevenson, because Shakur Stevenson had a previous fight that he didn't look as good as a lot of people thought he would, and they said he was scared to exchange and scared to get hit, and people were using the fear word with Shakur Stevenson and saying that they want to see him hold his ground and come out and assert his dominance and get a KO. And he did that to a sound champion who had just came off one of his best victories of his career against Carl Frampton, and completely outclassed him and stopped the champion in a 10-round beatdown. And I have to go with Shakur Stevenson in that one. And the second choice was Oscar Valdez stopping the favorite and Miguel Burchelt and putting on a complete boxing clinic, switching from southpaw to orthodox, counter punching tremendously, using his footwork. It showed a lot. I mean, Oscar Valdez showed every tool in the bag to defeat a guy like Miguel Burchelt, who was coming in as a monster, coming in as a favorite, and coming in as the pick to win that fight. And the third choice that I really had trouble with was Mauricio Lara upsetting Josh Warrington and following that up with a draw. He followed it up with a draw.
Yep.
So it wasn't a fluke for Mauricio Lara. He went to Josh Warrington's backyard, beat him by KO, a bludgeoning, and then he also followed it up with a draw. And you know what that means, Joe? If you get a draw in somebody else's backyard.
Well, look, and once again, Warrington knew he couldn't beat him skillfully or legitimately or legally. So yeah, he took everyone out of the game by slamming him in the head with his own big noggin, basically forcing a technical draw. Right? That's yeah. So yeah, you called that one perfectly, Young Bill.
And Shakur Stevenson showed that he's a pound for pound talent, and I think that winning his second title in his second division, I think that kind of cements that people. I mean, what a lot of things that people are saying, that he might be on the pound for pound list sooner than later.
Well, it's how he did it as well, and you defined that perfectly. This is a gentleman where a lot of critics, a lot of fans were picking Jamel Herring in the week leading up to the fight. But yeah, you called it, the footwork of Shakur Stevenson, his ability to control range, his knowledge of distance. It's very, very special, guys. He's in the same category. He's in the same discussion when you're talking about ability to control range and force his opponent to fight his fight. It's in the same discussion as Andre Ward, Floyd Mayweather, Terrence Crawford, special fighters, right?
Yes, sir.
Who have a knowledge of distance, an elite knowledge of distance, and can control range. It's a gift. You can't teach that. So, guys, there it is. Young Bill for your breakout performance of the year. Shakur Stevenson getting the TKO 10 over Semper Fi, Jamel Herring. I think it's an excellent pick. So, number 4, are you ready? Worst decision of the year. Jamel Charles split draw with Brian Castano. Number 2, Gabriel Maestre with the UD12 over Michael Fox. Adrien Broner, UD12 over Giovanni Santiago. Juan Francisco Estrada, SD12 over Roman Chocolatito Gonzalez. And finally, Stephen Fulton gets the SD12 over Brandon Figueroa. Young man, Young Bill, what is your pick for worst decision of 2021?
Got Gabriel Maestre over Michael Fox. Was by far the worst decision of the year. And it also caused it caused the saga and it caused the scandal. I mean, it made fans start looking at the WBA and judges, and also taking a closer look into the WBA sanctioning body as well for this fight. And I think that the trickle down effect of this decision also merits why it would be the worst decision of the year, because it actually caused some type of change in the WBA, and also I don't know if people noticed, but after that, the WBA started to get rid of some of the regular titles, start some of these tournaments to try to take some of the heat off after this decision. So I believe it was Maestre over Michael Fox, because Michael Fox, with the clear set of eyes, clearly won that fight. And most people and most spectators and most judges and most journalists also had Michael Fox winning that fight. So, the other fights were pretty close. Chocolatito and Estrada could have went either way. Charlo could have got a draw in that fight. I could see that, but I did have Castano winning 7-5, but I'm not mad at the draw. Brandon Figueroa, Stephen Fulton, cool boy Steph. That could have been a draw, but I wasn't too mad at the decision, crying robbery. But this one was a robbery in broad daylight.
You know what, brother? That is an outstanding breakdown. And HLD agrees with you, brother. Says Maestre caused changes and some consequences. Absolutely. 100%. And yes, it was the consequence that really, it really seemed to everything seemed to snowball after that just terrible decision, right? And then after the digging, boy, we found out by Coach James Gogi on this show that Maestre was managed by Gilberto Mendoza Jr. Open the ball of wax. I tell you what, have you ever heard of a sanctioning organization, the president managing a prize fighter?
Never. Conflict of interest.
Yeah, at the very least, brother.
Wow.
So that's what started everything, guys. And so, yeah, there it is. The very impactful and the ripple effect that we're still feeling throughout boxing takes it for worst decision of 2021. Congratulations to you, Gabriel Maestre. You get the dubious worst decision recipient award from Young Bill. I love it. Number 5. Now we start getting into the real important ones in the back end of the show, guys. Trainer of the Year, Young Bill, for 2021. This is a big one, man. I can't wait to hear what you choose for this. So the candidates are on War Week Radio: Ben Davison, Anatoly Lomachenko, Eddie Reynoso, Ismael Salas, and Javen Sugar Hill Stewart. Who is your selection for Trainer of the Year 2021, Young Bill?
It will be Eddie Reynoso. First of all, he led Canelo to undisputed. And Canelo had 3 fights this year, beating two undefeated champions. Ryan Garcia TKO'd Luke Campbell at the top of the year after being knocked down in that fight.
Almost forgot about that one, man.
Yep. Oscar Valdez beat Miguel Burchelt in an upset. And then you have Andy Ruiz beating Chris Areola, Frank Sanchez beating Efe Ajagba. So this guy trained fighters year-round this year, and won all of his big fights. His fighters won all of their big fights this year. So, and he also led a fighter to undisputed. So it's hard. It was a hard pick because Ismael Salas had he was, speaking of Jarrett Hurd versus Luis Arias, he was coaching Luis Arias for that fight against Jarrett Hurd. So he led that upset, and he led that upset of Ugas over Pacquiao, just to name a few. So it was really between Reynoso, Salas, and the great Sugar Hill Stewart for dealing with, leading up with what Tyson Fury was dealing with. Not even a month before the fight, he barely had 3.5 weeks to train Fury for the biggest fight of his life. And he was dealing with so much stuff outside the ring, and only one guy in this sport. And I'm pretty biased here, but one guy in this sport I felt like could have dealt with that and got Fury mentally ready for that fight against Deontay Wilder. The hard hitting nemesis in Deontay Wilder, who you can't lose focus with in any point of the fight. So I really want to give a special shout out to Sugar Hill Stewart for his great coaching job with Tyson Fury as well. But Eddie Reynoso, when you lead all your fighters to major victories and you have an undisputed champ, he takes the crown. Eddie Reynoso, Trainer of the Year.
And there it is, guys. Young Bill's Trainer of the Year for 2021, the incomparable Eddie Reynoso. Something tells me that won't be the last either, Young Bill. Right? So let's move on to number 6. We're getting to the good ones. KO of the Year. There are so many candidates for this one, guys. And once again, these are all picturesque KOs where the guy was asleep before he hit the canvas, right? Or a one-punch, a one-hitter quitter, right?
Right.
So here we go. Anthony Durrell, KO 4, Marcos Hernandez. Brandon Lee, KO 3 against Samuel Taya earlier this year. F.A. Ajagba, KO 3 over Brian Howard. Gabe Rosado, KO 3 over Beck the Bully. Kiko Martinez, KO 6 over Kid Galahad. Tyson Fury, KO 11 over Deontay Wilder. I forgot about this one before we did research. Callum Smith, KO 2 over Lenin Castillo. That was a beautiful and scary knockout, though. Wow. Oscar Valdez, KO 10 over Miguel Burchelt. Canelo Alvarez, KO 8 over BJ Saunders because of how brutal that punch was in shattering BJ Saunders' orbital bone. That's sick. Moving on, Conor Benn, KO 4 of Chris Algieri. And finally, Ryan Garcia gets the KO 7 with that lethal left hook to the liver and retiring Luke Campbell. So they're all your candidates. That's a lot to choose from, Young Bill. Who is your Knockout of the Year award recipient for 2021?
I'm going to have to agree with my man HLD on this one, man. I had Oscar Valdez over the Machine and Miguel Burchelt because of the stakes. You had a unification bout. You had a guy that was favored. You had a guy in Burchelt that was favored to do what Valdez did to him, which was knock out Valdez. So you had a guy that was favored to knock him out and win that fight, that got knocked out, beat up, and bludgeoned. For every round in that fight, Valdez seemed to be in control. And many people thought Valdez was going to knock out. Many people thought Burchelt would come through, and they thought he was the boogeyman of the division. So for what Valdez did in the coaching job, it was amazing. And that punch that he hit Miguel Burchelt with, I could still hear it. It's one of the most memorable punches I've ever seen, and especially in this year of 2021. And
you know what, Young Bill, and I'll say this. It's also not only the shot and how he landed, knocked out before he ever hits the canvas, but it's also how Oscar Valdez celebrated. Right?
Yeah, right.
That was very resounding, and it was kind of creepy, actually, man.
yeah, it was creepy. It was creepy. It was morbid, but I think it was because he was written off coming into that fight. He felt written off. He was an undefeated guy himself. He felt like he shouldn't have been such an underdog. You know how these guys are brimming with confidence, and they have the pride and the confidence, and you have to have some of an ego to think you can whoop anybody, or to be able to think you can beat anybody to step in that square circle. So I think Valdez just, just let out all the frustration of being feeling written off. And my runner-up was Gabe Rosado over Beck because he was losing that fight. And on the verge, it seemed like in those 3 rounds of on the verge of getting knocked out himself and coming in and knock out a pretty good prospect and Beck the bully. And he bullied the bully by knocking him out. Beck the bully got careless, and it kind of put Gabe back in title contention. I mean, and contender contention, fighting Jaime Munguia later this year. I mean, as he did previously. So it kind of catapulted Gabe back into the spotlight with that knockout over Beck. And the other runner up was Kiko Martinez with Kid Galahad, but we'll get into that later.
And there it is. Let's go to our comment section. EJ, how you doing, brother? Electro Jed, good to see you, my friend. Happy New Year, and hope to speak to you later on the other channel, my friend. Yeah, HLD says Valdez KO of the year. I could still hear the bomb of the punch. Indeed. Exactly. As well as the cry of his celebration. Still ringing in my ears, man. EJ says, I've got Kiko for KO of the year. That indeed was a brutal knockout, man. And it's one that most people didn't see coming. His reaction was pure adrenaline. I don't blame him. Yep, can't blame him either because everyone thought that Miguel Berchelt was going to have his way with him. Yeah. Well, that's anything can and often does happen in the world of boxing. The theater of the unexpected. Let's move on. So there it is. KO of the year is Oscar Valdez. Is that what you said?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Oscar Valdez getting the, picture perfect KO 10 over the, formerly dominant, the customarily dominant Miguel Berchelt. And there it is. So number 7, we go to upset of the year, Young Bill. And this was what everyone was calling the year of upsets. So here's about 10 candidates. Are you ready? Here we go. Mauricio Lara, TKO 9 over Josh Warrington. Kiko Martinez, KO 6 over Kid Galahad. Oscar Valdez, KO 10 over Miguel Berchelt. Sandor Martin, MD 10 over Mikey Garcia. David Amanisian, TKO over Josh Kelly. Gabe Rosado, KO 3 over Bektamir Melikuziev. George Kambosos Jr., MD 12 over Teofimo Lopez. And finally, Alexander Usyk, UD 12 over Anthony Joshua. Boy, that was a mouthful and a lot to think about. Young Bill, who wins your upset of the year award for 2021?
Kiko Martinez stopping Kid Galahad in his backyard in Sheffield. The guy who's 35 years old, the 10-loss veteran who was supposed to be a cherry pick, and it was supposed to be a homecoming fight, and he knocked out Kid Galahad and took his belt. He's an IBF champion now. And to think about that, Kiko Martinez has been a contender a journeyman and a contender for years. And to finally win a title, this is amazing for Kiko Martinez. He went to Sheffield, like you said, he was an extreme underdog, and he knocked out Kid Galahad. He didn't win the decision; he stopped him. And to me, the runner-up, and Kiko Martinez is a Spaniard, so it was a really good year for upsets for Spain because Sandor Martin, as a 10-1 underdog, and my runner-up, shocked Mikey Garcia by decision here in California, and he beat him thoroughly outboxed Mikey Garcia. It wasn't a robbery. It wasn't a gift decision. This guy really showed skills in outboxing the awesome counterpuncher in Mikey Garcia and showing that ring rust. So for me, the 10-1 underdog and Sandor Martin is my runner-up, but you can't, go against the upset of Kiko Martinez finally, winning his title at 35 years old in Sheffield, in Kid Galahad's backyard. And he's supposed to be a cherry pick. Cherry pick going wrong.
Yep, cherry pick gone wrong. So, guys, there it is. Your upset of the year goes to Kiko Martinez. Congratulations, sir. You get the KO 6 over Kid Galahad, the IBF title, and now Young Bill's Upset of the Year award recipient. There it is. So let's go to number 8, Young Bill. Are you ready, my friend?
Yes, sir.
It's round of the year that we're going to be discussing. Now we're getting to the meat and potatoes of this, brother. Round of the year. This was a hard one. This was a hard one, even selecting rounds of the year. So here are your candidates. Round 4, Fury versus Wilder 3. Round 10, Fulton versus Figueroa. Round 12 and 7 from the same fight, El Gallo Estrada versus Chocolatito Gonzalez 2. Round 12, Joshua versus Usyk. Round 1, Lopez versus Kambosos. Round 6, Apochi versus Glanton. Round 2 and 7 of Parker versus Chisora 2. Young Bill, there it is. Who wins your round of the year 2021?
Round 4, Wilder versus Fury 3. And
yep.
Because I honestly thought Fury was in trouble. I thought Wilder was in trouble leading into that round because Wilder had just got knocked down for a backdrop. Wilder had just got knocked down in round 3. So going into that round, you're thinking that, you know, most fight fans are thinking that Fury's leaning on him, balling him. It looks like he's going to get Wilder out of there. And 2 knockdowns later, Fury looks like he's going to get knocked out. So now the whole fight changed in one round. You have the momentum swing of a fight that magnitude to have that type of momentum swing within one round. And that's why the heavyweight division is still when the heavyweight division is thriving, it's still the most exciting division in boxing because the heavyweight division truly one punch can change a fight. And Wilder was dead on his feet in round 3 and resurrected himself by knocking down Fury twice. And most people can think that most people thought watching that fight that Fury might get stopped. And it showed Wilder's resilience to get up and put Fury down twice. And it showed Fury's heart of a lion and awesome chin and awesome recovery, awesome recovery ability to get up and fight Wilder off and ultimately stop him in one of the best fights I've ever seen. So I got to go Wilder Fury 3, round 4. And the runner-up would be round 12 of Chocolatito and Roman and Chocolatito and Estrada.
And there it is. You know what? You're absolutely right. Round 4, Fury versus Wilder 3. The drama, the ebb and flow, the changing of the momentum, the brutal shots landed.
Woo.
Yeah, that was breathtaking. And Will, something tells me we're going to be discussing this in just a couple of categories later. So there it is, your winner of round of the year, round 4, Fury versus Wilder 3, takes home the first annual Young Bill Award. And there it is. Number 9, here it is. We've got 2 categories left, Young Bill. Fight of the year, the second biggest, most prestigious award that we could possibly give you here on War Week Radio. Fight of the year. Here are your candidates for Fight of the Year 2021. Fulton, SD12 over Figueroa. Fury, KO 11 over Wilder 3. Estrada, SD12 over Gonzalez. Munguia, UD12 over Rosado. Glanton, SD10 over Apochi. Fulton, UD12 over Leo. Gutierrez, UD12 over Alvarado. And Parker, UD12 over Chisora in their return bout just last week. So there it is. Those are all the candidates. Young Bill, who wins your Fight of the Year 2021, sir?
Fury versus Wilder 3. It was because of the significance, the magnitude of the fight, and the controversy surrounding it, and it also being in the heavyweight division, featuring 4 knockdowns, and finally the 5th was the stoppage. I mean, one of the most brutal heavyweight fights I've seen in a very, very long time. It put an end to a trilogy It put an end to a saga. It put an end to a controversy. And it was the biggest fight of 2021, period. The biggest fight. It had the most interest, the most controversy. And it was in my opinion, was the most exciting fight of 2021. Now, and the runner-up for that fight, the most skilled fight of the year, if you didn't see it, please watch Estrada Chocolatito 2. I mean,
right on the money, brother.
From a technical aspect, it's a pure boxing fan's dream. If you love the sweet science and you love technical brutality, please watch Chocolatito and Estrada. And another fight that's pretty underrated on that list is Apoche versus Glanton. Glanton was an underdog in that fight, but it was brutality, and it was also great boxing for a guy. And to me, that was a breakout for Brandon Glanton to beat Apoche. So please, if anybody hasn't seen that fight, go check out Brandon Glanton versus Apoche, another Ronnie Shields fighter, and you'll see how great of a fight that was. It was one of the most underrated and underwatched fights on this list, but it should be mentioned.
Yeah, you know what? We need to see another one of those, and this time, have it be the headliner. Have it be the headliner. And there it is, Young Bill. So once again, and what's amazing about Fury versus Wilder 3, going into the fight, no one wanted to see it. We were all belly aching because, well, Wilder had spoiled the plans of Matchroom Sport and Top Rank to see the undisputed heavyweight championship between Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury. We were all pissed off at Deontay Wilder, and no one had any idea that it would not only, it would exceed all of our expectations and become an instant classic, and once again, it's been stated by several fans and critics, one of the greatest heavyweight fights in the modern era of boxing.
Yes.
And there it is. What a shocker. So there it is. Fury versus Wilder 3 gets your fight of 2021.
Oh, Joe.
Best fight of 2021. Yes, sir.
Another announcement. Roman Gonzalez versus Estrada 3 will be March 5th in San Diego. Please check out that fight. These guys are some of the best technicians in the sport, and every fight they fought in has been a fight of the year candidate. And I wouldn't be surprised if number 3 is too.
Look, I just hope these guys get paid, because it's really annoying to hear someone like Clarissa Shields bellyache about her not getting the money she deserves. And all the while, these little badasses, man, at 115 pounds are getting robbed by the promoters. Do you realize that? I don't think either one of these guys for the rematch made $1 million.
They didn't.
No, Haney, and he's belly aching that he doesn't get paid enough. Dillian White is asking for $10 million to fight Tyson Fury, and these little guys put on an exhibition, and they made a fraction of what a lot of these guys demand for softer touches. It's appalling, and it's criminal, Young Bill. So let's hope these guys get paid what they're worth in the trilogy fight, right? In San Diego. Now, the final category of the New Year's Eve show, we go to Fighter of the Year 2021. Young Bill, this really wasn't that difficult, was it? I'm going to rattle off these candidates, but there is one clear winner that is really forging the way for boxing's future. Tyson Fury, Josh Taylor, Canelo Alvarez, Terrence Crawford, Yordeñas Ugas, or Alexander Usyk. Who was your clear Fighter of the Year 2021, Young Bill?
Canelo Alvarez, the undisputed 168-pound champion, fought 3 times in 2021. Fought 4 times in a 12-month span. Yes, defeated 2 undefeated champions by stoppage. on his way to undisputed. It wasn't very hard, and you got a guy that's leading the charge and champion staying active, fighting often, and putting on great shows and fighting top competition. You can't be mad at a guy like Canelo Alvarez, and he clearly made his claim for fighter of the year. And the runner up for me is Usyk, because he was an underdog beating Joshua in his backyard. I mean, this guy can do it all. Showed impressive skill. Former cruiserweight undisputed champion, to go up there and is, become unified at the heavyweight division as an underdog. I would say Usyk is the runner up, but it was a clear cut favorite for Canelo Alvarez. Not even close.
Yeah, it really wasn't close, and looks like our panel agrees with you, sir. HLD says Canelo, hands down. And I think Antonio Luna agrees with you as well. I'm not sure, but there he is. Canelo Alvarez, brother Antonio's favorite fighter. Don't you know, Young Bill? Usyk fears Canelo Alvarez. And Eddie Reynoso, trainer, just stated today, he was quoted saying, "No chance in Hades that a fight between Canelo and Alexander Usyk happens. That's unrealistic." But Usyk still fears him. Make no bones about it, brother. So there it is, guys. There is your complete 2021 first annual Young Bill Awards right here on War Week Radio. Now, I've got a kind of a bone to pick here with, and we're starting the year off with a pay-per-view, Young Bill.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Now, we've got about 8 minutes left on the show, right? And so, I have to explain. Go ahead, sir.
Can I interrupt real quick? To confirm what you said, Joe, about the criminal payouts for these guys that's absolutely robbing these little guys. Chocolatito made $500,000 and Estrada made $300,000 for that rematch.
See, that's sick. That's sick.
Yeah.
Like, that's criminal. Guys, these are pound for pound the most exciting fighters to watch consistently. They leave it all in the ring. They're old school badasses who aren't afraid to exchange.
Wow.
This is pound for pound the best action that you're going to see throughout the entire year, and it's consistent.
Joe, 24 rounds between the two of those guys, fought in the pocket. In the pocket, exchanges. In the pocket, 12 rounds, fought every minute of every round.
It's sad. It's criminal. And Clarissa Shields wants to bellyache about how much money she's making, thinking that she deserves $1 million. Shit. Okay, that's all I'm going to say about it. But once again, are you happy, Young Bill, that we're starting the year off with a hangover and a pay-per-view?
You might need to have a hangover to be under the influence to buy that pay-per-view.
You know what, brother? So let me explain how this is happening, guys. You're probably wondering why Luis Ortiz is fighting Charles Martin, right, in this pay-per-view. Well, guys, it was originally supposed to be slated as Andy Ruiz versus either Luis Ortiz or Charles Martin, right? Because Fox, they're planning on having a pay-per-view every single month for the year 2021 in what could be the final year on the PBC or on the PBC Fox contract, right? So they're planning on scheduling a pay-per-view every single month for 2022.
You know what, Joe? I didn't even think about that, but if you want to be technical, January 1st, we have a pay-per-view. February 5th, Thurman Barrios. There's rumors that Spence and Ugas will be fighting in March on pay-per-view. So that's 3 in a row right there, Joe. So I didn't think about it that way, but that's definitely seems like their business model for 2021.
Yep, that's it, guys. Look for more of the same. And unfortunately, they just couldn't fit a better pay-per-view for January 1st. Once again, it was supposed to be Andy Ruiz versus either Luis Ortiz or Charles Martin. Unfortunately, he had to have knee surgery, won't be back until later on this year.
Mm-hmm.
So now you're getting the guys who are candidates to fight Andy Ruiz facing off against each other to see who fights Andy Ruiz later on this year. Luis Ortiz versus Charles Martin. Here's what I don't like about this matchup, Young Bill. Because you look at either one of these guys versus Andy Ruiz, that's a great style matchup. You've got the irresistible force against the immovable object, right? You've got the pressure fighter versus the counterpuncher. That's a great fight. But now you've got two southpaw counterpunchers who are going to be staring at each other to see who wants to commit first. This is going to be a stagnant fight a la Frank Sanchez versus Efe Ajagba.
Right.
And to top it all off, why aren't we seeing highly touted prospect Frank Martin?
Exactly, Joe. Highly touted Texan Frank Martin. Yes.
Yeah. You know what? Why aren't we seeing Frank Martin? Why aren't we seeing him on this paper? Why isn't he opening up the pay-per-view? He's fighting Romero Duno, right?
Right.
In the undercard, the preliminary bouts that aren't going to be on the pay-per-view portion. Instead, we're getting Gerald Washington versus Ali Aaron Demirezin. I don't even know how to pronounce that. Seriously, and I make a living pronouncing names, right?
And you know what, Joe? I was even more taken aback that that Carlos Negron is replaced in his fight with Christian Hammer for Frank Sanchez.
Yeah, that's right. You know what? So yeah, this is not starting off well, right? But I will say this. HLD, he says, congratulations, Young Bill. Say you popped your cherry with your first award show for 2021. Let's go. In his best Ryan Garcia impression. Let's go.
Thank you, HLD, my brother, man. Good to see you, man. Wouldn't be a show.
EJ also says Frank Sanchez is one of my favorite fighters, so I am purchasing the pay-per-view in support of that fighter. Good for you, EJ. Good for you, my friend. Always support your beloved boxing. And if you like the card that your promoters put forth, let them know it by paying for it. Let them know it by paying for it and promote the event. Right?
Joe.
Yes, sir.
Now, what do you think? For people that didn't listen to Tuesday's show, Joe let the cat out the bag that the purse split should be 80-20 with the WBC with Dillian White and Tyson Fury. And he said if it wasn't that Tyson Fury would look to another opponent. And the WBC ruled in Tyson's favor, as you predicted. Yep. So what is your take on that, Joe?
Well, once again, and what's hilarious is you get these YouTubers and fans that they make no sense at all. And once again, they're talking about collusion between the WBC and Top Rank, right? Laying the screws to poor, persecuted Dillian White. And I was like, no, look, guys, it's very, very simple. And I saw this coming. Now, once again, if you look at the bylaws of the WBC, they have usually customarily when an interim champion squares off against the real, legitimate, incumbent, reigning WBC champ, customarily it's a 55-45 split in favor of the main champion, not the interim. But what they always do, and a lot like the WBO did for Showtime Sean Porter when facing Terrence Crawford, because certain fighters that are already established and already commodities within the industry, because they want the purses to be, if they have to face a scenario where they participate in a purse split, they don't want anyone to get jobbed or robbed out of their customary purses that they're customary paydays that they have. Well, they're used to making, right? So what WBC, as well as all the other sanctioning organizations, will do in a situation like this, they will look at your two most recent paydays, and they'll make the purse split based on that. And I stated this is absolutely the worst possible time for anyone to be negotiating with Tyson Fury, because he just made 2 inflated purses back to back, totaling $50 million. You look at Dillian White's last 2 purses against Alexander Povetkin. He made 3.5 million pounds and 4 million quid, right? So when you compare 50 million to 7.5 million, honestly, Dillian White's not lucky. It's 90. He's lucky it's not 90-10. Seriously. And I'm like, look, that's what's going to happen, guys. It's not collusion. That's just the way it goes. WBC analyzes the purse amounts of their last 2 fights, and they make the decision and assessment based on that. It's very simple, and it happens all the time in boxing. Thanks for playing, Dillian White. So what's going to happen, guys? This basically, with this ruling, one, this pretty much assures that this fight is not going to purse bid. Okay? Once again, and I see a lot of fans' reaction. Oh, yeah, you'll see Matchroom Sport is going to make this go to purse bid, and they're going to win the purse bid. They'd be damn fools to do it. Because if they want their fighter to make, let's say, see, Eddie Hearn was saying his man deserved $10 million, right?
Right.
For fighting Tyson. Do you realize how much they would have to pay Tyson Fury in order for their man, Dillian White, to make $10 million?
50.
Well, yes, the guaranteed purse then would have to be $50 million with Tyson Fury making 40 and Dillian White making 10. Is this matchup worth $50 million guaranteed in the UK?
Wow.
Yeah. So once again, the WBC just laid the smackdown on Eddie Hearn and Dillian White, assuring that this will not go to purse bid. They basically, their only choices, right? 2 choices: raise the white flag, take the $5.5 million that Top Rank is offering you, and go try to win, to roll the bones, test your mettle against the best heavyweight on the planet at this time. Or option number 2, you relinquish the title and take your chances in arbitration. Or, I'm sorry, turn down this opportunity and test your luck at arbitration. If you had a choice, if you were Dillian White, what would you choose, Young Bill?
Fight him and try to win and give my best effort. Forget the purse bid.
And this is a no-brainer. This is a no-brainer, guys. And I told you, this is the way the fight would play out. Right? I told you guys, this is the way the negotiation would play out. Right? Yeah, this is not a shocker. This is what we expected. So, guys, very quickly though, who wins? Who wins this fight, brother?
Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury by UD.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
By unanimous decision.
I like this.
He might stop Dillian White. He might stop him too, Joe.
You know what? Look, if old Pops Povetkin can stop Dillian White, yes, I agree. Tyson Fury can stop him as well. Let's see. HLD says not picking, watching, but 5.5 million is a fair market value. That's absolutely right. I don't know where they came up with this idea that Dillian White deserves 10 million quid. Do you realize how few fighters make $10 million in one fight? Young Bill? This is how rare that is. Okay, Errol Spence Jr. has yet to make $10 million in one fight.
Right.
Okay.
You know,
that's how rare that is. That doesn't happen. Okay.
Most of the guys are heavyweights, right, Joe? You got besides Canelo, you got AJ, Fury, Wilder. Who else?
Yep.
Joshua.
Last year or this year, Caleb Plant made $10 million
fighting Canelo.
But that was for the undisputed championship. And that definitely wasn't what he was worth.
And he's not going to make that again.
Yep. And I'm sorry, guys. Tyson Fury may have, been catapulted to mainstream status with this huge victory and fight of the year. In a fight of the year, right? One of the best heavyweights that we've seen in recent memory, heavyweight fights. But he's not Canelo Alvarez. You can't expect to get paid $10 million to fight Tyson Fury unless you're also a big mainstream attraction, right?
Right.
Now, once again, Dillian Whyte is kind of a mainstream guy in the UK. But when you look at his most recent pay-per-view numbers, not good. For fighting Alexander Povetkin in Spain, 190,000 pay-per-views. That's it. That's all it did. So once again, guys, there it is. That's why the WBC ruled the way they did. And yes, 5.5 million pounds is very fair market value for being the B side and the title challenger to Tyson Fury, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. Hey, Joe.
Yes, sir.
Rodney Evans asked, is Ryan Garcia versus Isaac Cruz really going to happen?
You know what, guys? I'll say this. Both fighters want this fight. Both promoters, this is the most lucrative option and realistic option that they could possibly get for their guy at this time. And I'll say this. If Ryan Garcia defeats Isaac Cruz, that catapults him. And this is what Floyd Mayweather, from what I've been told, this is what Floyd Mayweather Promotions is looking at. It sets the table for a giant showdown at 135 between Ryan Garcia and Gervonta Davis. How do you like that?
Woo! Common opponent.
So that's why they're working with Floyd Mayweather Jr. right now for Isaac Cruz. Right?
Right.
So that sets the table for this. So there it is, guys. There it is. So what about me? Thank you for joining us, sir. I wonder if there may be a British Boxing Board of Control issue with Tyson fighting in the UK again, as Fury never accepted their time served ruling. Well, look, brother, honestly, it's all for naught. This is a load of, honestly, Tyson Fury seems to be a much different guy than he was when all of this mess was handed down by the BBBOC, right? And he did technically retire from the sport, right? So do you still hold that ruling? Is it still? Because he did retire, right?
Right.
So do you still uphold that ruling before he retired? I don't think so. I don't think that's how it works. But we'll see. Obviously, it's not good. It's of no consequence, or he wouldn't be wanting to fight in the UK. That's what I think. But I'll look into it a little bit further, and I'll talk about it on the next show. Final comment, HLD says, getting paid what you think you're worth in boxing has nothing to do with how good you are as a competitor. Unfortunately. Look, and that's absolutely right, HLD. Look, it's because boxing isn't run like any other sport. Look, if you have a career best year in the NFL, NBA, or MLB, you're going to be compensated in the offseason, and you're going to become one of the highest paid players in that league. Unfortunately, you're absolutely right, HLD, because it's not run like any other sport, the boxing business. It's run like the music industry or the motion picture industry. It's not based on your talent level or skill level. It's based on your perception. In boxing, perception quickly becomes your reality. That's why I always tell fans, never forget, you guys are the real bosses of boxing. You determine what these guys are worth. Okay? So if you guys demand something, if you create that mandate for a specific matchup or fighter, they have no choice but to do the bidding of the real bosses of boxing. But I will leave you with this. Guys, if you still want to be considered the real bosses of boxing, you have to financially support your boxing. You can't pirate anymore. You cannot pirate, illegally stream any of these events. You have to pay for them. If you still want promoters and networks to consider the fans to be the real bosses of boxing, you have to start paying for it, damn it. That's it. Your final thoughts on this episode of the year-end awards, the first annual Young Bill 2021 awards.
Hey, Joe, do we have time for one more comment from my man Rodney Evans? Or is it the last comment of the show?
You know what, brother? It is your show. You're the man. So let's hear it. Rodney Evans says, at panel, what does Terrence Crawford have to do to become top 25 or top 50 great of all time? Or is Terrence Crawford already a top 25, top 50 all-time great? Wow. Well, I will say this. He's already a first ballot Hall of Famer. He's already an all-time great. He's already a throwback badass. Look, if you realistically, Young Bill, if you put Terrence Crawford, plop him in any era, he's gonna be very competitive and get the top guys a run for their money. Your thoughts on where Terrence Crawford, sits right now among all-time great status, and what he has to do to improve his legacy.
If Bud Crawford was to beat, in my opinion, Bud Crawford is already an all-time great, like you already said, Joe. But in my opinion, if he was to beat a pound-for-pound guy and Josh Taylor on his first, him moving up to 147 and challenge Josh Taylor, and get and fight the winner of Spence and Ugas for opportunity to be two-time undisputed, that would start making him creep into that top 40, top 30 area. Because if you get two-time undisputed, and he also said he wants to end his career at 154, if he was to go there and fight and beat a legit name like a Castano or Jamel Charlo as well, and retire, which is actually feasible, you could put Terrence Bud Crawford in. Joe, like, you got to. How special would that be to be two-time, to beat a guy like Errol Spence who's undefeated, a Josh Taylor who's on the pound-for-pound list, another undefeated guy, undisputed at 140, and fight a Jamel Charlo or Brian Castano. And possibly win it. If he was to win those three fights, Joe, does that catapult him to top 30, top 40?
Gosh, that's tough, man. Think about what you're asking, Young Bill. All-time great fighters throughout boxing's rich history.
Right.
In much healthier eras with 15-round fighters, same-day weigh-ins, guys who fought between 5 and 10 times per year. You're talking about the best of the best during healthier, more competitive eras. Do you penalize a guy like Terrence Crawford for coming up in a softer era in which guys only fought once or twice per year? That's what you have to take into consideration when you talk about ATG status, brother.
Right.
Now, does Terrence Crawford have the skill set, the mindset, the ferocious mentality, the killer instinct to survive in those eras? Absolutely. But how well does he do on same-day weigh-ins? And most importantly, what weight division does he actually campaign in at same-day weigh-ins? Right?
Yeah,
So when you're thinking about the mythical all-time great status, you've got to consider those variables. Like, think about this. If it's same day weigh-in, does he begin his career at 47? Does he begin his career at 160?
Wow.
And how does he fare against guys like Marvin Hagler, if you're saying he's all-time great?
Woo.
Sugar Ray Leonard, Tommy Hearns,
Woo.
Roberto Duran, Bernard Hopkins, Gennady Golovkin, Roy Jones, who started his career at 54, James Toney.
Yep.
How does he fare against those guys? It becomes a very different discussion now, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
And there it is. So, guys, that's where we're going to leave you. We've run over time, and I tell you what, thank you guys for joining us in this special matinee presentation of War Week Radio. And I want to celebrate our latest addition to War Week Radio, Mr. Young Billionaire, completing the first annual Young Billionaire War Week Radio Awards. Absolutely. Thank you, my friend. So I tell you what, let's go to the comments real quick. Wishing Joseph and Young Bill the very best in the upcoming year. It was a blast getting to know you guys this year and look forward to your growth in 2022. Many blessings. Happy New Year. God bless you, HLD. That was very nice of you, man.
God bless my man.
And
HLD.
you know what? Happy New Year to you as well, and many blessings to you and your loved ones as well, brother.
Happy New Year, Puro.
I'm sorry, what?
I was saying Happy New Year to Puro, my man. He said Happy New Year, fellas.
Oh, Puro, South Central. Happy New Year to you, brother. God bless you, man. Yes, we were at it early, and now we're just about to close up shop here for the year. But in case you missed any part of the show, gang, you can check it out as soon as we sign off. Hey, but Happy New Year to you, Puro South Central. And many great discussions in 2022. EJ, OMG, I just got the bad news. Oh my gosh, that Betty White was gone. Holy shnikes. You're announcing it on this show. Wow, may God rest in peace. Rest in peace, a comedic legend and someone who is about to or just celebrated their 100-year birthday. Wow. That's a shocker, guys. Puro South Central. Jeez, that puts a damper on our day, doesn't it, man? That's shocking. EJ, Happy New Year's, brother. Denise Wards, Happy New Year's to you, sister. God bless you. Rodney Evans, appreciate the show and knowledge. We appreciate you, my friend. LaRon 9817, thank you for being here. Happy New Year to you, my friend. Wow, and what about me? Nice one, Young Bill. God bless you, brother. And yes, Young Bill is a great new addition to War Week Radio, and we're really looking forward to the upcoming year of programming with Young Bill, Coach James Gogi, and Mr. Ronnie Shields. They're all returning this week. Okay? So God bless all of you guys. Young Bill, do you have any parting shots for our listening audience, sir?
God bless to everybody in the chat. I really appreciate you for tuning in and listening. And yeah, we look forward to 2022, making it a great year. And we hope the same for you, abundance and prosperity, and blessings to everybody that tuned in.
And guys, don't be surprised if I schedule a show tonight, if I'm feeling very lonesome since I'm quarantined in my house right now. If I can't spend it with my honey, can't spend it with my family, well, what a better way to bring in the new year. Ring in the new year by spending it with my boxing family online. Guys, you guys mean the world to me. Thank you so much for supporting this show. And if you haven't already, please hit the like button, comment, and subscribe. God bless all of you guys. Oh, Young Bill.
Yes,
do
sir.
you want to hear some Tupac? Different Strokes or Welcome Back, Cotter? How do we close out this show, sir?
Welcome back.
Very good. Let's go to it. Guys, on behalf of Young Billionaire, I'm Joseph Herron. You've been listening to War a Week Radio. Happy New Year, everybody.
Welcome back. Your dreams were your ticket out. Welcome back to that same old place that you laughed about. Well, the names have all changed since you hung around, but those dreams have remained and they've turned around. Who'd have thought they'd lead ya? Who'd have thought they'd lead ya? Back here where we need ya. Back here where we need ya. Yeah, we tease him a lot, 'cause we got him on the spot. Welcome back. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back.
FightSaga.com presents War a Week Radio chats with boxing scribe Joseph Herron and former prizefighter Young Billionaire.